Before you hear the final part of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen and answer questions 11 to 15.
Dr. Okafor, what happens when local culture itself becomes part of the tourist experience?
Tourism can support cultural survival, but it can also change the meaning of a tradition. A ceremony may once have been connected to religion, family history, or a particular season. If it is shortened and repeated every afternoon for visitors, it begins to function as a product. This process is often called commodification. The tradition has not necessarily disappeared, but its value is increasingly measured by what tourists are willing to pay.
Does that mean any cultural performance for visitors is inauthentic?
No, that would be too simple. Communities have always adapted traditions, and local performers may willingly change the timing or style of an event. A performance can still communicate real history and provide valuable income. The problem arises when outside companies decide what the culture should look like, or when visitors expect every experience to match a romantic image. Authenticity should not mean that a community is forbidden from changing.
So a staged experience is not automatically false.
Correct. We should ask who controls it, who is paid, and whether local people feel respected. If residents choose how their stories are presented and receive a fair share of the income, tourism may strengthen cultural confidence. If they are expected to perform stereotypes created by travel companies, the result is much more harmful.
When does cultural erosion begin?
It often develops quietly. Local businesses may be replaced by identical souvenir shops. A neighborhood language may be used less because visitors cannot understand it. Traditional skills may survive only in simplified forms that are easy to sell. The greatest warning sign is not that culture changes. All cultures change. It is that residents gradually lose control over the direction of that change.
Who should have the right to represent a community's culture?
The people who belong to that community should have the strongest voice. This does not mean every resident will agree, but decisions should not be made entirely by hotel owners, marketing agencies, or government officials. Artists, elders, young people, and local workers are all stakeholders. They may value different things, so genuine consultation takes time.
Finally, how can tourists engage with local culture more responsibly?
They should accept that culture is not always available on demand. Not every ceremony should be photographed, and not every neighborhood should become an attraction. Visitors can choose locally owned guides, pay fairly for crafts and experiences, ask permission before taking photographs, and spend enough time to understand the place rather than collecting quick images. Responsible travel requires curiosity, but also restraint. Sometimes the most respectful action is to observe quietly or not to enter at all.
Before we finish, I would like one final thought from each of you. Is a fairer form of tourism possible?
Yes, but destinations must measure success through local well-being, not visitor numbers alone.
It is possible when governments act before housing, infrastructure and public trust reach a crisis point.
And it requires recognizing that communities are not tourist products. They must remain the authors of their own future.
Dr. Sophia Marin, Professor Daniel Reeves, and Dr. Amara Okafor, thank you for joining us.
That is the end of the listening. You now have some time to check your answers.